This podcast is a casual conversation about mental health. All topics discussed are based on our own personal opinions and should not be interpreted as professional advice. If you need assistance with your mental health, please contact a healthcare provider. I'm overstimulated. Expect the long-awaited abolition of my brain.
But if mentally we synchronize, despite what we despise, there's a chance that maybe I won't go insane. Welcome to Mental Sync, a show where we talk about our brains and how they just don't work right.
They don't work right, do they, Emily?
No, they don't. But hi.
Hi, Emily. Sorry, what's
Emily.
your name?
Emily.
You're Emily. Okay, and that would
Yeah.
and then that'd make me John.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, cool.
I think
can
so.
do that.
Cool. We have a podcast.
We have a podcast.
We started a podcast.
We started a podcast.
We did. Isn't
Look
that
at this.
fun?
What is it? Why? Why are we doing this?
We're doing this because, one, I'd like to embarrass myself on the internet a little bit.
I don't like that idea.
And two, I want to talk about some serious stuff in a not so serious way and just kind of dive right into it. Plus, you're my best friend, and who else better to do that with?
Oh my God, I'm honored, and I'm incredibly nervous. You've set a very high bar, but gonna do what we can. So yeah, who are you?
I'm Emily, again, as you all know, and I am currently getting my master's in psychology. So I feel like I have some type of information on this, but I am not a mental health professional, so take that as you will.
Yeah, we should be very clear that we are not actually trying to give people advice in a way that's, we don't want anyone to walk away from this like, well, on the mental health podcast, then they said that I should be doing this stuff. And, we're not prescribing meds or telling anyone what to do. But as a couple people with brains that, don't always work the way we'd like them to, we thought it'd be fun to have a little conversation about it and just talk through some of the different anxieties and whatnot that we face. And, who knows? Maybe someone's going to listen to this and be like, oh, I relate to that. Maybe I could try some of the same things that they try. And,
Absolutely.
see how that...
That's the goal.
See how that works. See what's going on there.
That's the goal. We never know. You never know who you might help along the way, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So
what
that
are we
brings
talking
us
about?
that brings us into this episode. This episode, I think, would be great to kind of talk about who we are, what we've been through, what we're doing, and I kind of want to get into self-care a little bit today. So I think that's an important topic
let's
to
get
start
into
with.
self-care. I'm into that. Let's go.
Yeah.
So first of all, you introduced yourself. You're Emily, which again makes me John.
Yes.
And you're a science lady, a big old science person.
Yes.
I am not. I like science. I think it's a blast. But I'm a film and television person. I enjoy getting coffee for people who talk down to me. That just really gets me out of bed in the morning. And, as a result of that, it's... a lot of stuff goes on in my brain that isn't always my favorite. So I'm actually at the moment taking a step out from the industry, and wow, it's been making a difference so far. We'll get into that in another episode, I'm sure, but man, oh man, the mental health issues to address are real in the film industry. It's a whole big thing, isn't it?
And it's funny because we both work in different industries, obviously, but we both work in pretty high stress industries. So it's been about got to learn how to adapt. And I think practicing self-care is one of the most important things you can do for yourself. So
for sure. I agree. So
all right,
let's talk about, well, I guess we're still introducing ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, top 3 favorite things wrong with your brain. Go.
Favorite things wrong with my brain.
Yeah.
I'm anxious all the time.
Oh, fun.
100% of the time. That's a personality trait at this point. Sometimes I'm sad. Sometimes I am sad.
Okay. All right.
And my biggest thing, which I guess falls into the mental health category in the way that it contributes to my mental health, but I do also have ADHD. So focusing is not my favorite thing to do, and it's been a struggle, and this is actually a fairly new diagnosis for me. So despite knowing my entire life that I probably have ADHD, it has been confirmed, and we have been put on meds, so we'll see We'll see how this turns out for me.
There we go. Me, on the
Your
other
turn.
hand, I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not technically diagnosed with ADD or ADHD. Side tangent. Is there a like discrepancy? I mean, I know there's a difference between ADD and ADHD, but I've heard from different sources that that's like an outdated.
It is. So the reason they say it's outdated now is because ADHD is just classified as ADHD now. So ADD is now known as inattentive type ADHD. Oh. So it's basically just getting rid of the hyperactivity part. I am blessed to have combined type ADHD. So that just means that I have a really hard time getting motivated to get things done when they don't bring a lot of dopamine to my brain, which some people have perceived as laziness, but it's definitely not laziness. Yeah. It's a genuine struggle that I have. I cannot, no matter what you try to convince me to do, get up and do something sometimes. Yeah. Especially if it's a big task and there's a lot of steps involved. So for me, that's the ADD type. That's the old term for it. So that's the inattentive ADHD that I have. The ADHD, like the regular, the hyperactivity aspect, is the fact that I cannot sit still. And I fidget and I'm constantly shaking my leg, or I'm playing with my nails, or I'm just moving and I can't sit down. And I have times also where I have these increased moments of just energy. I'm just running around like a crazy person. Like cleaning at 3:00 in the morning because that made me happy. Why not? Yeah. So that's kind of the difference. And luckily with the medications I've been put on, the ADHD has gotten much better, the hyperactivity aspect. I can actually sit still. I can focus. But currently at the dosage I'm at, I'm still struggling with the motivation aspect. But hopefully we'll find the right mix of things to do for that soon. So
yeah, well,
that's the difference.
I, on the other hand, I'm not technically diagnosed with ADHD, but whenever I bring it up to anyone, I'm just like, I think I have ADHD. People are like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
knowing you for as long as I've known you, I would have to agree.
Yeah, whatever.
But this is not me formally diagnosing you, because I cannot do that.
No, for sure not. However, I don't know if this counts as like a diagnosis, but like when I was seeing a therapist a few years ago, and I was just talking through like some anxiety issues, I was like, yeah, and I don't know, I just think I might have like ADD or ADHD, and she was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, well, you have a degree, so that hits a little differently.
Yeah.
But, it's, I'm not like on ADHD medication per se, but I started at the time taking like CBD, which is just good for overall focus and just being calm. And the reason that helped me is because my excuse me, my ADHD seemed to have manifested from anxiety. And like, I don't know if this is a technical term, but I always call it like anxiety induced ADHD. So for me, it was less so that I can't focus on any particular thing, and more that I'm just overstimulated and therefore can't focus. Which sounds like the same thing, but
which I would say I'd reverse that. I'd say you have anxiety from, so you have,
right?
Yeah,
I know what you're saying.
The reverse of that.
But the my point in that is like the reason I came to it is because when I was talking to my therapist, I was like, should I start taking Adderall? Like, should I take Adderall to like focus? And she was like, no. And I was like, really? Because I know a lot of people with ADHD will, whoops, I hit the mic, will take Adderall. And she was like, right. The reason Adderall and this is my complete non-professional, summary of what I remember learning. So, you keep that in mind. But Adderall is, from what I remember, for, if you're not able to focus on anything, it helps you just focus in on your thoughts so that you're not as like spacey, which I thought was kind of what would help me. And she was like, well, for you, I think it's more that you're overstimulated and you have a bunch of different things going on. So if you took Adderall, you might hyper focus on everything. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that sounds like a nightmare. Yeah. I don't want that.
The other thing about that is if you take a stimulant and you don't actually have ADHD, it could do the opposite. So for me, when I take a stimulant, it calms me down. So despite, yes. So sometimes when I'm really anxious and I realize I haven't taken my meds in the morning, I'm like, oh my God, it's because I haven't taken my stimulant, which it helps me focus, but it also brings that hyperactivity aspect of my brain being like, there's 7,000 things I need to do and I have all these things I can't get done and I can't organize the tasks. So when I take those meds, it actually helps me to kind of sit down, calm down, and focus on what I'm doing. So the thing they were worried about with me is also because I have anxiety, they were afraid that the stimulant would increase that anxiety, which luckily it did the opposite, which is pretty normal for people who do have ADHD. And that's what I was told by the neuropsychologist that I saw when I got my official like ADHD testing done, which took like 4 hours. Wow. It was insane. So wow. It's a fun thing. So I guess I would just say, like if you're wondering if you have ADHD, I know it's like a big topic on TikTok at the moment. So it's like kind of like everyone's like, oh my God, I think I have ADHD. Just talk to someone first, because
for sure. Obviously,
you'd never know.
To someone first.
And like it was interesting after I got my neuropsych testing done too, because he was like, everything you explained to me matched up with your testing 100%. He was like, and that's not normally the case. Some people have these ideas in their head that they might have X, Y, and Z, and they come in for neuropsych testing and they get, they're like, I think I have ADHD, but their test results don't show any of that. So part of the issue with that is, you can hear all these things about ADHD online or read about it, and you're wondering like, oh, I do that. And it's like, well, yeah, that's valid. You might do that, but it might not be ADHD. So it's really important to just find someone to talk it out with and really kind of like figure out what's going on with your brain. Because before I even totally was diagnosed with it, I was, and I still am, I have like 3 therapists. But you just have to work on it. You have to figure out what are the little things that are coming together for you. And you might be doing something in your adult life that didn't carry over as, that wasn't something that was happening in as a child. And sure, maybe you never realized it as a child. And I discovered that as I was like, oh, now that I think about it, I've been doing this my entire life. Like I would wake up at 3:00 in the morning and do papers that were due at 7 a.m. I did well. It wasn't that I was incapable of doing them. I would do well, but I needed that pressure, that time, like, oh my God, I have to get this done in this amount of time in order to kind of convince myself to get things done. So it's just
the lack of being able to self-motivate and needing the external motivation to be able to motivate, which is, it's not the worst thing, but it does make it hard to motivate yourself for doing like personal projects like this podcast, or like when I'm a writer, I'm trying to like create content, and when you're in a situation where the discipline has to come from you, the pressure has to come from you, it's just so hard to motivate. So that's definitely something to figure out.
Yeah. And for me, if it's not something I'm passionate about, like this is a project I'm passionate about, so I'll push for it, right? I'm like, this is something I want to do. I'm excited about it. I'm going to push for it. My little side business that I have, I'm excited about that. That makes me happy. I'm knowledgeable about it. There's dopamine involved when good things happen with it. I'm going to push for it. But when it comes to things like, oh, I have to clean, I have to do the dishes, I have to do homework on an assignment that I'm just like, this class is awful. Like, I'm currently taking like measurement and assessment.
Oh.
It's brutal. It's brutal. And I cannot convince myself. Luckily, I have accommodations at school, so I get a little extra time to do things.
And the other thing is that we're both problem solvers, which is a good thing, except when you need to self-motivate, but then you don't want to do something and have ADHD. Right. You start thinking like, well, what if I just like didn't do it? What if I just didn't do it? And then you start being like, well, then this would happen. But what if I just like solved that and didn't do it? And then you start actually solving just your way around the entire problem rather than just like doing the task.
Absolutely.
Which is a mess. So we're both all messed up inside. We got ADHD, we got anxiety, and we got a nice healthy peppering of depression. And
yes. So we're the same person.
Us creative types.
Yes.
So we're the same person, and we're on some of the same medication, which is adorable.
It is.
Super cute.
We're the same person. We're just one. Emily and John forever.
Oh my God, Gemily.
Gemily, there we go.
or Iman.
I like Gemily better.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, so I guess breaking from that, let's talk a little bit about like what we can do for ourselves, because I know that when I get overwhelmed, I tend to like drown myself in work because I feel like I have a lot to do. But I think bringing it back to the whole self-care aspect, let's kind of talk about our favorite things to do for self-care. So I will let you go first.
You're gonna let me go first?
I'm gonna let you go first.
Man, I love self-care. I love self-care so much, and I think there's such a wide spectrum of what self-care can be, because, you know, when a lot of people hear, like, self-care, they're like, oh, I'm gonna just, like, light a candle for myself, which is great. I love lighting a candle, or, like, you know, little things that you can do on top of the tasks that you're doing. Like, yeah, I'm still gonna, you know, work on this paper, work on this project, get this stuff done, but I'm gonna like put on music while I do it. And I think that stuff is very important because it, you know, takes the edge off of the stress of trying to get done whatever you're trying to get done. But on top of little things like, you know, I don't know, I like leaving I've talked to you about this before, but I like leaving water around for myself. I like leaving water in all different places where I may find myself wishing I had water. Like my bed, my desk, near the refrigerator, just so that I don't have an excuse. And, you know, it's silly, but like those little acts of making tasks easier, you just don't realize how much they add up to the end of the day, where you're like, wow, I just didn't go through all those little stresses of like, oh, I have to get up. Oh, I have to do this thing. It makes it so much easier to get up and do something when you actually have to, if you can set up a situation for yourself where you don't have to as often as possible. Right. I'm rambling. I don't know if that makes sense, but
I think it does.
Cool. Dope. Love it.
Because I'm definitely someone, especially like hydration is so important, and I'm someone who, if it's not near me, I'm like, meh. It's whatever.
I'll just like neglect my basic human needs. I think that's fine.
Yeah. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, oh my god, I'm so thirsty.
Right.
Like what?
Or like, I'm so thirsty.
I'm
like,
so
my
dehydrated.
Head hurts so bad. Like, why do I feel like this? And then it's like, because you didn't drink water.
Yeah. Simplest thing to do for yourself: drink water.
It's like yeah. I know, but it's like, you have to. It's something. Okay, another thing that reminds me of that is like breathing. Right. Mm-hmm. It's so, right. It's obvious. You know, I don't know if you know this. You have to breathe in order to live. It's so obvious. And so, because it's so obvious, I always found that when I was given advice like, oh, take a deep breath, I always took that as a metaphor. Weirdly, like, as like, take a deep breath doesn't actually mean like taking a deep breath. It means like, okay, I gotta pause and I gotta think about stuff. But like, then at one point, once I started like meditating more regularly, I realized, oh, I need to take that very literally. Take a breath doesn't mean calm down. It means stop what you're doing, take a deep breath in, and take an exhale, because you are not getting enough oxygen, likely to, or you could be getting more oxygen, to your body. I don't know how it works. I don't know how that works at all. You need it, because a lot of people, when they're very tense and stressed, they'll like take very short breaths and like stop breathing, and you just don't think of any, you don't think of it because it's such a, you know, a passive act, breathing. We all breathe without thinking about it, but you need to like pay attention to it and concentrate on it once in a while, because I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, it's such cheesy advice to say count to 10 and take a breath, but when you do it.
Yes, and I think to your point, to add to that, it's also just important to, it also does like refocus you, right? If you're going to take a minute and you're going to stop and you're going to be mindful of what you're doing for a second and be able to be like, okay, we're going to bring ourselves back to like center. Yeah. And it's so important to just take a minute. And it's something that I've had to learn how to do. I definitely don't do it well. So to be able to sit down and be like, okay, before I start this, let me just refocus my energy. And that's the way I do it. Just take a deep breath. So that is very important. Yeah. Very important.
And, you know, those are examples of it. I guess it's self-care, but it's also like basic human needs. just
Yeah.
making sure you're meeting them. But that's like so important, and we find it so, I think, silly that it almost feels unnecessary. Like, yeah, I don't actually have to breathe. Like, I'm gonna breathe whether I want to or not. And it's like, yeah, but do it the right way. Drink water. Do it enough.
Yeah. You know how I got myself to do it consistently is if you have an Apple Watch. I don't know of any other apps on other watches if anybody has them, but it has a breathe function, and it's just a minute long thing where it takes you through like breathing. And they also recently added a mindfulness app that I utilize. I actually have a timer that goes off for that. So it'll ask you like a question like, oh, think about what your favorite part of the day was. And it times you for like a minute to just kind of like close your eyes or don't close your eyes, but just like have a moment inward and just think about what your favorite part of the day was. We're going to bring positivity to it, and we're going to just feel good about something small.
Yeah.
Celebrate those small wins.
Like actually shutting out the rest of the world for a minute and, just kind of like, I mean, I've been meditating now every day for a little over a year. I think we're going on like a year and a half, which is great. I use the Headspace app.
I love that app.
I love that.
Let's get them to sponsor us because that is my
I
favorite app.
Can't even that would make me so happy.
Have you ever used the SOS button?
I have, yeah. It's
terrific. My favorite.
It's great.
It is.
It's really great. And they have like it's a meditation app, if you don't know, that has a bunch of different courses that, it's run by Andy. I don't know his last name, but who I know studied with monks for a while and just has first of all, a very calming voice.
Yes.
It's
he
a very
really does.
nice voice to listen to. But also he, will talk, it's not just like, oh, basic meditation and breathing. Like it can be, but it's also like, oh, here's a good meditation for finding focus, for coping with like hunger cravings, for, just feeling overstimulated, needing to take a moment out. They have like sleep podcasts. It's great. It's such a great app.
I love it. I've used it to sleep. And really quickly, I'll just say another app for sleeping, because I'm someone who struggles with sleep.
Yeah.
Insomnia is a real problem for me. There's this app. It's the same thing. It's also mindfulness. And I personally think of it as self-care for myself. It's basically like meditation in the form of art. So it's called Luna. I'll get them to sponsor us too. Luna.
Yeah, please.
But basically, the guy tells you a story, same thing, has a very calming voice, and they're called sleepscapes. And so what you do is he talks you through the story, and as you go, he gives you little pieces of this blank picture to just press on and cover and color.
I have seen that.
Yes.
I love that. Oh.
And I do that. That's the only thing that helps me fall asleep at night. I have come to do that. Well, I mean, I've been struggling lately because other things, but I do that literally every night, and I kid you not, the first one I didn't fall asleep. I had to do 2 of them because you can do other ones if like the first one doesn't work. But it also goes in like a story, so like you'll know, like, I mean, you don't have to do them and know the previous stories, but if you've been doing it long enough, they pick up little parts of like previous episodes that you've done, and they throw them into the story. Like they'll be like, oh, I picked up a newspaper, and then you color the newspaper in, and it'll be like of a friend who is like a film director and how he's been like successful or whatever. And I'll be like, oh, I haven't thought of him in a while. It made me feel blah, 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 blah. So again, they usually take,
like that.
Oh yeah, it's super nice. It usually takes, I think they're like 20 minutes, but I can tell you now that I've been doing them long enough, I never finish them anymore. So I'm like, but it becomes a habit, right? So now I'm on my phone still, but I'm not being stimulated with like bright, like scrolling, reading, thinking. You're just kind of like following along the story. You're interested in the story. They're kind of fun. And some of them are kind of whimsical. So it's a cool little thing. I would recommend if you have trouble sleeping to give it a try.
Nice. Oh man, I have recently started trying to, limit my amount of time on social media. I actually started doing the the app limit thing for specifically like Instagram and TikTok, because it's so hard to not just like scroll, and it's like
so
fine.
What is that, like app limiting? Because I actually I've never even heard of that.
Oh, it's an iPhone feature where you can oh my god, I don't even remember. It has a specific name, but
so does it just limit the amount of time you're technically like allowed on the app?
So I like set it to 15 minutes, and you can select like whichever apps that you want. And so if I'm on that app for 15 minutes, it'll be like, hey, your time's up for today. And you can choose to ignore it, like ignore for a minute, ignore for 15 minutes, or ignore for like the rest of the day.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's not like, but it's nice to have that notification that's like, hey, just so you know, you've been doing this for 15 minutes.
I'm definitely going to have to try that.
It's helpful. Yeah, I'm not
because
good at,
I'm a person who'll I get lost in the scrolling sometimes. I'm like, oh my god, it's been an hour.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the thing is like I definitely still hit like the snooze button basically to be like, hey, remind me another 15 minutes. But it helps me to not do it for hours, which is really good because I would definitely fall down that hole. And that would just, I'm also the kind of person that when I'm like depressed, I just kind of need stuff to be coming at me, which I think a lot of people are like, I can't like actively like play a game or do something. I need to just watch TV and like do something. But even watching TV, I think is just better than just scrolling because it starts to become, especially for something like TikTok, no offense to TikTok, but a lot of the content is bad. A lot of it's good. A lot of it's good content, and that's why I stick with it. But a lot of it is also very bad. And I think that's just what the internet is. You're just not going to get a consistent flow of things necessarily. Right. So I've just tried to be like, okay, if I want something to just come at me, I'm going to like put on a TV show so that at least I'm like, I know I'm going to enjoy everything that's coming at me. I'll learn something, and I try to write television. So there's a semi-productive aspect to it. Right. It's like, I don't know. It's an intake of art rather than an intake of mindless content.
Absolutely.
TikTok can have art. I try to follow art things on TikTok, but it also has the same sound playing over and over. If you get stuck in a loop. I'm not going to rant about TikTok the whole time because I feel
another episode.
I'm aging myself. All of Gen Z is upset with me, even though I'm part of it, technically.
I know. We're like that weird cusp.
I know. It's like,
I definitely feel really more like a millennial, though.
Yeah, but I also, like, don't really want to identify as a millennial. Like, I do, but I don't. Because
there's a Facebook group for us, specifically. I'm a part of it, called Zillennials.
Zillennials? Right, Zillennials. Because that's the thing is, like, millennials, there are millennials that are 40 years old. And it's like, I don't really, that's just a different generation. Like people, we're 26. Like I don't really super relate to, I don't know, the way that they view the internet. Like I'm definitely more open to TikTok than people a little older. But it's not my life.
But then there's people like my little sister who I'm like, sometimes I can relate to Casey, but other times we are very different people.
But anyways, moving on from social media and getting back to self-care.
Yes.
Aside from the little daily things that are just like things I like to do to make myself feel better, I think it's incredibly important to take a you day. Take a me day.
Yes.
Just, date yourself, I think is my favorite bit of advice. Even if you're in a relationship, even if, you just have to make time to date yourself, because when you're with other people, I mean, I guess not across the board, but I would say most of the time when you're with other people, you are compromising with what they want to do.
Right.
Which is great and good, and that's what relationships are. But you need time for yourself. You need time to just, in my case, go to a movie by yourself. Go to a movie, go to dinner by yourself, and just sit with your thoughts. It's great. It's terrific. Yeah. It's just so, I don't know. I've read that this is like an Aquarius thing, which we'll get into astrology another time. We just lost half our audience by me saying that. But
yeah, right. It's fine.
I don't know. I just think it's so important to treat yourself as often as you can without being irresponsible to a day in your own head, because I find a lot of the results of anxiety, depression, is just not enjoying being in your head. And I don't know, you're just not going to be able to accomplish anything or like move or like improve your mental health if you don't enjoy being in your brain, because your brain is where you have to be to get that work done. I'm rambling about that, but
absolutely,
you know what I mean? It's
yes.
Oh man. So talking about favorite self-care things, going to the movies, going to dinner by yourself, getting a massage, walking around the park,
Yes. Petting dogs.
petting dogs. I saw a dog and was like, I'd like to pet that dog, but the dog was working because it was a not a seeing eye dog, but I think a therapy. I don't know. It was wearing a vest, and I was like, "Oh, that's a working dog. I can't
It's a
pet
working
that dog."
dog.
But then I looked
The
up.
goodest boy.
I was like, the goodest boy. I was like, where can I pet dogs near me? Found a spot. Went and pet some dogs, and that's just it's that kind of spontaneity that I think is really important in a me day.
Yeah.
You know,
it's another New York City thing because
yeah.
I'm gonna Google this as you finish your story, but I don't think there's a place to pet dogs in Boston, which I'm a little butthurt about.
Point New York City. Boston.
Yeah, we're gonna keep
no
a running
places to
total.
pet dogs.
We're gonna keep a running total of Boston versus New York things. My
New
one
York
point
City,
is
you can sit on the steps and eat a breakfast sandwich, and in Boston, apparently, it's not cool. Not cool to do that.
okay, but New York is like filled with trash and it smells bad 100% of the time.
Oh, okay.
You know it's true.
It's like
Where can
not
I pet
as
dogs?
bad as, you know. Yeah, when you visit New York City, if you're going to Midtown, fucking Times Square, then yeah, it's disgusting. When you come to visit, I'm going to show you where I live. I live in this beautiful area in Brooklyn, Crown Heights. I'm near-ish Prospect Park, and I'm off Eastern Parkway, and it's just this whole fucking street lined with trees. And it's beautiful, and you're gonna be like, whoa, I can't believe I ever said anything bad about New York City. And then you're gonna move here, and then it's gonna be the end of it.
No, I'm a hardcore masshole, even though we're both from Connecticut.
Even though we're both from Connecticut.
But I was raised by a masshole, so it's okay.
Fair.
I can be by association. I also drive like a masshole. I've been here long enough that I am 100% that driver. But also, you can't take a point because there are places in Boston to pet dogs.
I'm sure there are places in Boston, but are they near you?
Yeah, within like 15 minutes.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Well,
so anyway,
okay.
Even that point doesn't count. But my point against my one point against you is that is an opinion, but it's a good opinion because it's mine. And we have better hockey.
You have better what?
Better hockey. Our team's better than yours.
Okay, sure. Yeah, New York hockey is not. I have no idea where in New York you can play hockey. So.
Well, you can because I've been there. I've been there. Yes. Same thing with New Jersey. I went to a Bruins game in New Jersey because I just like to like follow my team. You know, it's fine.
Okay. Gotcha.
And I was like surprised there too. I was like, this is a weird place to play hockey. Plus, like, the New Jersey Devils, I'm going to lose some people just from my hockey rants, but it's fine. Anyway, I'm a Bruins fan. I love all hockey, though. I love everything about hockey. So don't come at me saying that I only like hockey because I like the Bruins, because that's not true. I could list stats and favorite players. But anyway, continue.
Did you hear that? She's going to fight you.
Yeah.
Comment in the comments where you want to meet Emily to fight.
Oh my god.
There will be a fist fight.
Anyway,
she'll fight all of
bringing
you
us back to our self-care topic. I have a fun surprise game for you.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So we're gonna do this quick because it is kind of quick.
Okay.
It's a this or that. So I'm gonna give you. I figured, this is a good thing to do because this might also open up to people who don't really know what they want to do for self-care or things that they haven't done. So we're going to do a this or that first. There's a couple on that list. And then I've also made a list of things that I'd like to know if you would try or you wouldn't try. And then I will also chime in on those ones too.
Okay. I'm on board.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So here's the this or that.
Okay.
You have to pick one just for the pressure of picking one.
Only one? Like not both?
You can't say I like to do both. I want you to pick the one that you like the best. Like you rather do that.
Okay.
Even if it's hard.
Okay.
Okay. It's gonna be a challenge. You ready?
All right.
Self-Care This or That by Emily. Okay. Reading a book or listening to a podcast?
Oh, I guess listening to a podcast.
Going to bed early or sleeping in?
Sleeping in.
Same. Mindful walking or doing yoga?
Both, but like, mindful walking.
I feel like that's good for like living in the city because you can do that a lot easier.
Definitely.
Taking a bath or going to the beach?
Oh, bath? If I'm by myself, bath. If I'm with friends, beach.
Okay.
Although
meditating,
a bath with friends can, be great.
Meditating or journaling?
Meditating.
Buying pretty flowers or gardening?
Buying pretty flowers because I can't keep plants alive.
Getting creative or taking a nap?
Getting creative. I'm going to say getting creative.
I think so too.
Yeah.
For me, at least. Drinking coffee or drinking tea?
Well, okay. For self-care, drinking tea. For self-care. For motivation, coffee.
See, for me, it's the opposite because I just am addicted to coffee.
That's the thing, though, is I'm sipping coffee as we go because...
For self-care, I'd be like, let me take myself to go get some coffee. I would never be like, let's get some tea. But if I was at home, I'd rather make tea. So anyway, moving on. This is the last question.
Situational where it's like, for self-care, do I need to become more stimulated or calm down? Is the difference for me,
This is true. So this is the last one for the this or that, and then I'm going to ask you the other questions.
Okay.
Watching a sunrise or watching the sun set?
Oh, I love both, but a good sunset is nothing quite.
So I have a comment about this one really quickly.
Okay.
My comment is that I love the sunset, but I actually really like watching the sunrise, but I don't like waking up in the morning, so I'm trying to make it a priority to start watching the sunrise, to get myself out of bed and going a little bit earlier in the morning.
Ooh.
So that's my fun little...
My thing is, I'm not very good at getting up early in the morning, but I like the act of getting up early in the morning. I think most people would agree is one of the worst things known to men. When you have to get up out of bed and you don't want to. It's the worst.
Right.
But being awake early and having the whole day, I love. So I agree. Like, I want to get better. I want it to become easier to get out of bed in the morning. Because once I'm out of bed, I'm just like, oh my God, I've been up for hours and it's like 10.
Yes.
I have so much of the day left. And what it really comes down to is I just wish sleep wasn't necessary. Or as
yes,
necessary
we've talked about this.
It is. We did talk about this, but
sleep is necessary. It is necessary.
Yeah,
I'm going to cut you off there because your theory should not be widely accepted about not getting sleep.
Listen, I'm not saying it's a theory. I'm saying if we only had to sleep for 2 hours a night,
but don't
it'd be so
but
productive.
Don't.
No, don't do that.
Don't do
because
that.
It's bad for your body and you can't.
It is bad for your body.
Yeah. It is. It's terrible.
I also have a degree in health sciences, so
Okay, well, I have a degree in film. So
I'm just saying, I have something to say about sleep, and it is very, very important for your body.
You'll die if you don't get enough sleep. I just wish it weren't the case.
Yes. I tend to struggle with getting up in the morning in general because I like to stay up late, and I find I'm more productive at night. I'm way more productive at night.
My creative time, ideal creative time is like 6 p.m. Like, when I start working at 6 p.m., I could just work for hours.
Mine is so much later. I wish mine was 6 p.m. Mine's like 10 p.m. 10 p.m. rolls around, and I'm like, oh my God, I have ideas. I have things I want to do. Oh my God.
Yeah. I feel that.
So,
for me, it's always right as I'm going to bed. Like, I'm going to bed, and I'm like, okay, time to fall asleep. And then I'm just like, oh,
I have ideas.
And I'm like, okay, I'll just, like, write that down real quick. Okay. But, like, okay, let me write these notes. Okay. But, like, I should elaborate on that, and then it's just a whole project.
Yes. My other quick comment about that is that if you do sleep in, because I do this, and I'm trying not to, if you do sleep in and miss part of your day, don't beat yourself up about it. You either needed the sleep, and if you had nothing to do and you didn't miss anything, it's okay. It's okay to sleep in every now and then. Because I know I used to, and I still do sometimes, and I'm really trying to be better about it. I would be like, oh, I missed so much of the day, but with all that I do, like, my body was tired. I needed to get some sleep. So it's important that if you do sleep in, as long as you didn't, I mean, even if you did miss something, it happens, but as long as you're not missing anything and there's no stress on you sleeping in, like, just take it.
Yeah, I think
accept it.
Big thing that we're probably going to get into in this podcast is how you got to listen to your body. Because when it's hard to do things, when it's hard to motivate, when you're having trouble like using your brain and navigating it, it's a physical problem usually,
right.
Or like it's not you as a person, it's not you as a being, like, yes. Oh, you're an unmotivated person, you're a lazy person. Like, there's work that you can do, but it's really important to listen to your body and think, okay,
yes,
why can't I get out? It's not that, oh, I just can't get out of bed in the morning and like
yes.
that's the problem, fix that. It's like, why can't I get out of bed in the morning? Why am I so tired? And if you're not listening to your body and giving your body what it needs, you're not
right.
going to give yourself the brain power and the ability to like overcome that. It's
right.
all about, it all comes down to listening
it's mindfulness.
to the body, listening.
And it comes back to being mindful about how you feel about your body.
It all
so check in with yourself.
To that.
You can literally just check in
hey,
with yourself for 15 minutes.
What's up?
Like,
body?
I actually took a whole class in my undergrad about like mindfulness, and it was called like mindfulness in healthcare or something, or like it was something weird like that. But it really wasn't even about being mindful in healthcare. It was about like just being mindful, like mindful practices.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that we actually practiced that in that class. Like, we'd start the class and they'd be like, okay, take a minute, check in with yourself. How are you feeling? What's going on? Literally a minute, just a minute of your time. It could really help you like refocus your day, or even just make yourself feel better in general. So it's really important to do that. So on to my next point.
Yeah.
Really quickly, I would like to ask you things. Again, this is something that you might not even have thought of for self-care practices, because there's things on here that I'm like, I would have never thought of that as being self-care, but there's also things that here are things that we've already discussed. But anyway, So I would like to know, have you done this? Has it helped? Very quickly.
Nope.
Like, be like, have you, okay, cool.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry,
have you done this? Have you done this? Has it helped? Or would you like to try it?
Okay.
Just very quickly. You don't have to explain. Just be like, I have not tried that. I would like to try that. Or I tried that, it was helpful, and we'll move on.
That was a very nice, subtle way to say, don't let your ADHD make you spiral.
It's not about you, it's also about me staying on topic, so if I verbalize that, we'll both help each other.
We should probably have someone else to guide us and direct us, but we're not gonna do that.
No, that's no fun.
That's not what the podcast is about. The podcast is about the spirals and the fun.
Yes,
and if
and we're learning how to control that.
Listen to something else.
Or just try one more time. You never know. We might be better.
Or like just keep trying. We might improve. I don't know.
Okay. Go on a nature walk.
Have done that. Does help for sure.
Same. Literally same. Meditate, which we've already talked about.
Yeah.
Make a vision board.
Make a vision board. I vaguely understand what a vision board is.
So like, it's kind of like, this is where I want to go with my life. It doesn't even have to be about your life. It could be about something else. But just kind of like planning something out. Take some time to just like be like, these are my goals. Let me realign myself. Is this still a goal? Just kind of checking in type of a thing.
Yeah. I guess I haven't done that. And yeah, I would be down to try that. I like that idea.
Yeah. I actually haven't tried that either. But I do think it'd be kind of fun to explore that.
I thought about doing that and putting that on like my back wall here of like, I didn't exactly understand that it was a vision board, but yeah, that same type of deal. That's just like something to look at to motivate.
I've actually read some like research articles about how if you write down your goals, you're more likely to achieve them.
Yeah.
And if you put them somewhere that you can see them and you can like constantly read them, again, you're more likely to. So like stick it like on a mirror that you look in every day or something. Yeah, somewhere you can just like look at it all the time.
I like to put notes on the inside of glasses and wear them all day so I can't see anything but what is going to motivate me.
Okay, so give yourself credit.
Give yourself credit. I mean,
do you give yourself credit?
I try to. I think I'm doing a great job.
Does it help you when you do it?
Yeah.
Same.
I mean, positive affirmation in general is just super necessary.
I definitely need to do more of it. Like, I don't give myself enough credit, but I do try. I've been trying lately to give myself more credit.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I think I'm good with that, honestly.
Yeah. Practice deep breathing, which we've talked about.
I have done it. and I
Helpful.
like it.
We talked about this one too. Cuddle or pet a human.
Cuddle or pet
Or
a
a pet.
human. No, human.
Cuddle or pet a pet or a human. That's what it says.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. I was walking around Manhattan, just walking up to people like, hi,
Petting people.
good morning, how are you?
Your
Petting their
skin's
head.
so soft today.
Your skin is so soft today. And yeah, almost got stabbed, but
Cuddle
just
a
kidding.
pet
yes.
or a human.
Yes, I'm a
Yes.
very physically affectionate person. I need love. I need
This one-
affection.
This one is very good for me. Take your medication.
Take your medication. That's such a good idea. You're
And
saying the
that's
stuff your
self-care.
doctor gives you.
Yeah.
Just
and
like-
that's self-care. Taking your medication and actively like trying to help yourself, that is self-care.
Oh my god. Like
Surprise.
when they say, "Hey, you got to take this every day." You're saying like actually do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I should No, I do try to do that.
As long as it's like prescribed to you, take those medications.
Well, yeah, I was implying from a doctor.
Cool.
Not
cool.
someone on the street that's like, "You got to try this shit, man."
All
I'm
right,
just
ready?
like, "Okay. Yeah, thank you, sir."
Do something for someone else. But like I think it's not referring to like go do a big favor. I think it's like, oh, this person would really like this. It makes me feel good to help people. Like I think that's kind of what it's referring to.
Yeah, I try to do that. I like, especially, it's a reason I like being in a more financially stable place, which I've been lucky to be in, working consistently in film, where,
Yeah.
I can just go pick up coffee for people, and then they're like, "Oh, how much do I owe you?" And I'm like, "It's on me." And
Don't worry about it.
It's such a good feeling to,
I did that once in like elementary school, and my mom yelled at me because it was her money, obviously, because because it
Don't
was like
you
a
guys
$20
worry,
bill.
It's on my mom.
Yeah,
got
and they were
this.
like, I totally forget the situation around it, but I was like, oh, there's only like $5 extra. Just keep the change. It's fine. And my mom was like, Emily,
no,
that's
don't
my
keep the
money. Like, don't do that with my money. And I'm like, I was like, I don't know. I was like 9.
That's
Like,
so
I was being
funny.
nice.
Mom, excuse me, I'm being polite.
I'm giving away your money. I used to do that with tips at like the nail salon with her too. She'd get so mad. I'd be like, Mom, just give them a little more. They were nice. She'd be like, and now as an adult, I'm like, I like to tip generously, but I'm like, no, I get it now. I get it. I get why.
Maybe
I get why she didn't want me
stressful.
tipping people like that.
Oh boy.
Write in a journal. Have we done that? Do we like it?
Yeah, I tend to use my notes app more than a physical journal, and I try to use like a physical journal for more like randomly sketching and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I like it. It's very
So this is
grounding.
something for me that I have tried, but it doesn't work for me.
interesting.
I don't like it for some reason.
No.
It almost seems tedious, which, I mean, again, to each their own. But
Yeah, I mean,
if it helps you, try it.
I'm someone who, as I'm trying to be a writer, and so just practicing very generally getting the thoughts out there is
Yeah.
very good for me, because otherwise it builds up and up and up and up, and then I just talk at people, and that's not
Right.
always super healthy. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So, make a dessert.
make a dessert. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I made bomb banana bread over quarantine. I just was
Nice.
like,
I
wait,
love banana bread.
it's, we've talked about how over in quarantine everyone learned how to make bread. I didn't really learn how to make like bread, but banana
Yeah, no.
bread. Oh, yeah.
I have a
like
coworker who
chocolate chip
makes bread.
walnut banana bread. It's
Oh my
shit.
god, that sounds so good.
Yeah.
My coworker makes bread, and because it's again a hobby she picked up over quarantine,
Yeah.
and she brings me different breads that she's made, and every time I'm like, these are so good. I wish I had this talent, but I don't have the time or the patience for it. Okay, there's 3 more.
3 more, we got it. Let's go.
Declutter your living space.
Yeah, that's a big one for me.
Me too.
Yeah, no, I'm very much someone that's, I'm sure everyone's like this to some extent, but I'm very much someone that if my space is a mess, it very much reflects how I'm feeling and how I'm doing, to the
Me
point
too.
where Liv, my younger sibling, would like come into my apartment and would see that my bedroom's just kind of messy, and they'd be like, "How you doing? You okay?" And I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, I'm good, fine, I'm good."
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Okay," and I'd be like, "No, okay, yeah, no," and then I'll like clean the space, and it's sometimes one is affected by the other. Like sometimes like the cluttered space makes me anxious, but sometimes my anxiety like turns into my space being cluttered, which is interesting.
Yeah. If you could see the room that I'm sitting in, you'd be like, how are you functioning? And it's only because I make jewelry. And sometimes when that happens and I have ideas and then more ideas and then more ideas, things just get spread out across the room. But today I actually am going to take, after we're done with this today, I'm going to take some time to declutter this space because I definitely feel much better when my things aren't all over the place.
Yeah, it's pretty comical how I, made sure that this frame right here was nice and clean and organized. But then if I look to my side and it's just like, those are piles of clothes. But it's not even just clothes. It's like clothes and like some shoes, my ukulele, a workout bar. It's a mess.
Just things.
It's just stuff. And I'm just, I gotta clean them. It's going to make me feel better.
So I actually lied to you because I can't count. There's 3 more. There was 4 more. But it was because I was like, I know, I'm so sorry.
I quit the podcast.
Go to a workout class.
Yeah, actually, I want to get back into it. So I haven't done, I guess, a workout class, something that's like, I went to a dance class one time, like with the intention of working out. It was right before quarantine. I started going to a hip hop class because I just love dancing, and I was like, that's a kind of cardio that would actually motivate me to like, just keep physically fit. And that didn't continue, sadly, but I loved it.
I kickbox. I don't know if I've told you that.
You have told me. Yes.
Yeah.
Paolo and
it's
Keith,
something that
you're 2 of my other roommates, if you don't know, love. I get Paolo loves kickboxing. Keith wants to try it, but
it's so fun, and it's something that I've like when I'm not doing well mentally, I let go of, but I have been lucky enough that all the coaches that are there are super nice and they check in on me. They'll be like, hey, it's been a while since you took a class.
That's
like,
cool.
You okay? Like, how's everything going? And they're very understanding. And I feel like they're people that, like, if I came in and I wasn't doing great, they'd be like, just the fact that you showed up, that's amazing. Like, thank you for showing up for yourself. So, yeah.
See,
so
that's
there's
the
that.
Worst part of it, when you feel the judgment, like, because you're already, when you're trying to work on your physical health and you're dealing with already like mental health issues, but already physical health issues, you're already beating yourself up for not going to the gym, for not whatever. And I've never personally, some people do, and that's fine, but I've never personally found it motivating for someone to like shame me for, it's not good.
No, it doesn't work. I would totally quit. If people were like, why aren't you showing up? Or like being harsh about it, I'd be like, no, I'm never coming back. You ruined it for me.
Guess what? You blew it.
Yes. So the next one is say yes to something fun.
I try to do that.
I try to do that too.
Yeah, I'm definitely working on being more spontaneous because, I like the adventure. I like, it goes back to what I was saying about just walking around Manhattan. I like just kind of looking at something and being like, yeah, I'm going to go do that. And a lot of the time it's just like, oh, I'm near an AMC. Let me go see a movie.
Hey, whatever works for you, though.
It does work for me. I actually did that the other day. I was getting COVID tested somewhere for a job, and I realized I was right next to the Lincoln Theater, or the Lincoln Square AMC. And I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to go see a movie. And because I have A-list also, so it doesn't like cost anything more. I can see up to 3 movies a week. Sponsored by A-list.
All right, ready for the last one?
Yeah.
Tell yourself, I love you.
Oh, should probably do that more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at yourself right in the mirror and be like, I love you.
I fucking love you.
Yes. That's the way to do it.
I love you. I think the more aggressive, the better. Show
it's
yourself
important.
you mean it.
Yeah. I think it's important to be able to look at yourself and be like, even if you don't feel it, just try it. Like, try it.
Yeah.
Because I know that I struggle with self-love. So that's not something I've tried yet, actually, but I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. Maybe I'll do that today.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I guess I haven't really done that either. Like, you say that and I'm like, oh yeah, I love myself. Yeah, sure, no doubt. But I haven't looked in the mirror and,
And it might
gone for it.
be uncomfortable at first because I now that I'm thinking through like the logistics of going and standing in the mirror and talking to myself, I'm like, that's a little weird. But I mean,
I could do it super seriously. But even as a joke, I feel like that's gotta be,
Yeah, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna literally try it after this. I'll report back next episode.
Sick. I'll give it a go as well.
Here's our wrap up. Ready?
Yeah.
Always number 1, pet some dogs.
Pet some dogs. Just do it. Just pet dogs.
Yeah.
Or cats or whatever.
Date yourself.
Date yourself. You love yourself, man.
Love yourself.
Just, no one's gonna treat you like you.
And then try new things.
Look at something.
Try some new things.
And be like, yeah, fuck it. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Because you know what's going to happen is you're going to try something new. Worst case scenario is you don't like it, but you're trying stuff. And that's the only way that you're going to really get to know yourself is, and even a combination, try new things on a date with yourself. Try new things by yourself. You just, the journey of mental health and overcoming mental health issues really starts with being comfortable in your brain. And to be comfortable in your brain, you have to understand it. You got to start having a dialogue with yourself. You got to start just understanding what's going on, what you like, what you don't like, and not being inhibited by other people, even your best friends, not being inhibited by what they like and what they want to do. It's important. It's
if you want to do something, go try it.
Go do it.
Don't be intimidated by your own thoughts.
No.
We'll try not to be, because I know that's a big thing.
Well, the thoughts can be scary, but you show those thoughts who's in charge.
Yes. So
it's you versus
yourself. My last thing I want to emphasize for our wrap up is celebrate the small wins. Whatever you get done for the day, just be proud of all that you've done for the day.
You did it.
That's the best self-care that you can do.
Or what? Maybe you didn't get out of bed, but you woke up and you took a nice long nap. That's awesome, man. Yeah. Great job.
Just, if all you can do is get up and make your bed, and even if you don't make your bed, but like, for example, if all you did today was wake up, get out of bed, and just be alive, 1, be grateful for that. We're not promised tomorrow. And 2, good job. Yeah. We're proud of you.
And you know what? It comes back to that conversation we were having about the gym, where you're already beating yourself up. You don't need to add to that, because when someone's saying, hey, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you coming to the gym? If it's motivating to you, then great, go for it. But for myself and for you, I know, and for I think most people, it just kind of makes you spiral. So just congratulate yourself and love yourself. And man, just take a breath. Take a nice, deep breath.
And you're not alone. You have friends.
You got this.
So, if you need someone to lean on, just call your friend.
Yeah.
If they're your friends, you're not a burden.
No.
So.
And if you don't have friends, just listen to our podcast.
Yeah, because we will be your friend. We love friends.
We're not going to take your calls, and you're just going to listen to us. So it's pretty one-sided. But that, that benefits us.
I mean, maybe one day we could take calls. Imagine.
Oh God, that's a lot. I hate.
That's a lot to think about.
That's a whole nother anxiety thing.
Oh my gosh, we'll talk about that another time. Anyway, all right. Thank you
so much for joining us, everybody.
This has been a wonderful time.
So much fun.
Goodbye, friends.
Goodbye.